Ah, good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning, Dawn. How are you?
I'm fine. Hi, Nick. Hi, Marco. Marco looks a bit frozen. Right, are we good to go, Nick, in a second?
I think so. I've just got, I'm not sure if we're live yet. I think we're imminently.
We are live. Yeah.
Live. Fantastic.
We're live. We know that from last week, don't we? We've got a couple of minutes because it starts at 10:30. So we'll wait just a couple of minutes just to make sure to see if people are actually joining us at 10:30 before we start. So yeah, I see you've got an Only a Pavement Away t-shirt on.
I have indeed. Yes, loving what what Greg's doing at the moment in terms of keeping, making sure that patrons are safe, and the donation campaign at the moment to in regards to their the rent, etc. And living costs. So yeah, no, fair play to Only a Pavement Away.
Yeah. Okay, we've got about a minute left, Nick. We'll leave it for one more minute, and then we'll just go for it. You see that message we just got? It looks like Marco has frozen.
Okay, well we've got a couple of seconds to reboot. And actually, as we start doing this, let me thanks James again for having us. Really appreciate it, and Marco for joining us. Yeah.
Right, let's go live. Okay, welcome to Hospo Live. Hospo Live is a content stream and community page keeping hospitality workers connected, inspired and upskilled during COVID-19. So welcome to the Finding a Job That Is Perfect for You session. During this session, this is an opportunity for you to ask any questions and for us to share our expertise and advice. Feel free to ask questions as we go along, and if we can answer them, then we will do, or leave a message afterwards on Facebook, and either Nick and I or our guest speaker will happily answer them for you. So just grab a pen if you can, take some notes, and if you walk away with one or two tips that can help you with your next search for your perfect job, then our session has been a success. Before we cover this, for those that didn't join us last week, just to remind you, between Nick and I, we have a wealth of experience in recruitment, and so you're in really good hands. So you can be reassured that the information we provide to you will be quite current as well. Remember, whatever stage you are at in your career, it's always important to never stop learning, never stop reviewing, always be curious. It's always good to see what's out there and what's going on. So from last week's session, you should now have a great CV. And this brings us nicely into this week's session where we are talking about finding a job that is perfect for you, where we will be sharing our years of knowledge and advice to suit you, to ensure the best jobs that suit you. You may not actively be looking for a job now, but again, you may be taking some tips away for future reference. Before I share what we will be covering, we have a fabulous guest speaker with us today, Marco Reick. Marco's background includes HR director role at Bills, Leon, and more recently at Black Sheep Coffee. Hopefully Marco is with us now. Are you with us, Marco? It looks like, no, he's not there at the moment, but he will be with us later on. So Marco will be joining us, and he's going to be chatting about a couple of things with all his wealth of experience. So we're going to be covering just 4 subjects today. We're going to make this really easy, but it's quite in depth. We're going to be talking about research and which company is right for you. What channels you will use to find your perfect job. Once you've found your perfect job, what do you do next? And we will then hand over to Marco, who will be talking about the importance of culture fit and what to think about when finding a job. So a jam-packed session and lots to cover. So Nick, let's get started.
Fantastic, thank you, Dawn. So I don't think you've mentioned your in-house role at Dixon Curry's, but I thought that's quite impressive. I have to draw reference to that. Talking of great jobs, yeah, I think you're going to talk about the channels in terms of getting that visibility of the companies. And I think I just want to draw reference now to what to look for, and what to be thinking about, really. There's a wealth of information, on the net, and sort of talking to industry colleagues and friends is always important. So so yeah, have a look and find out what you're looking for. I'm going to give a couple of examples of really great businesses, and it's about being honest with yourself in terms of who you are at that stage in life, in your own sort of personality. Are you punk? Are you polished? All those kind of things. And both are great, by the way. So if you look at great companies like Claridge's and Nando's, both got a really different raison d'etre. They've got amazing things going for them. And I think if I draw back on my experience as a recruiter, I'd always take Bills and Qoot, sort of earlier days, as an example, and they sat under the same bracket at the time, with a fab guy called Scott Williamson, who you might know. The candidates that we would put forward to Bills and for Qoot were very different. Qoot would always look for the understated competency, and Bills would look for that slightly more outgoing, gregarious person, sort of happy-go-lucky, and would sort of appearing without a care in the world, and very, very rarely did an individual candidate fit the bill for both. There were occasions, but very, very rarely. So it's about asking yourself, who are you, and whatever level you're at, whatever the role is that you're looking for. It's about picking the right company for yourself, and where do you like and where are you comfortable. Punk with tattoos, refined and polished, both are great. Where do you sit in the whole sort of scale of things? And you are an individual at the end of the day, so be true to yourself. Apply to the right job. Don't set yourself up for success. Don't try and be too ambitious. That will happen through hard work. But yeah, to apply for the right position, understanding who you are is important. To have that inner self-reflection, and the skill sets, it's really important that you understand. I mean, the example I probably bring up are many a time when a candidate said, I'm managed a P&L, competent in the P&L, and it doesn't take long for a few questions as to what are your fixed and variable costs, what's your labor, what's your GP, what's your EBITDA, and if you haven't got a clue, then that's fine. It's not brain surgery, reading a P&L. It's the same as an equation at maths at school. I'd use that example. So you'll learn that, but be realistic. Don't say you've done something if you haven't, but also be aware of what you know what you don't know as well, and that's quite an attractive quality in someone as well. Marco is going to talk about the culture, and regardless of how we get there, whether it's a phone call and I go on loudspeaker or technical issues disappear, then I think Marco's very much the expert in terms of what he's done in the past through Bills, Leon, and Black Sheep. So. But I will touch on culture just briefly, because it is finding the right environment. It means that you're going to be happy, and certainly looking at Hospitality Jobs UK, one of the branding pieces was very much about the social and the industry responsibility intertwined with the commercial aspect. And look, although the commercial aspect's out of the window at the moment, the important part is it's that social and the industry responsibility. And I mentioned the great campaign that Greg's doing, and we're involved in that, and being a part of the Hospitality Proud campaign is fantastic. So it's about being true to yourself, and it doesn't feel like a job when things are going in those directions, when you've made those right decisions. And hiring Paul James into the business now is great, because the guy shares the same passion and values and interests as well. So as a group of people, when you're thinking about joining a company, I draw reference to us purely because it is important. And when you look at, are you Bills or Qoot, are you Claridge's or Nando's, it's great, and just be honest to yourself. So yeah, happy selecting.
Okay, thank you for that, Nick. Any questions as we go along, please don't hesitate to ask us. Marco, you've joined us.
Hey, how are you? You're right.
I love technical issues, and thank God you sorted it out, because I'm no good when it comes to technical stuff. So lovely, thank you for joining us, and I'm glad you're unmuted now. We can hear you.
I'm unmuted, and I've got Wi-Fi. Hurrah!
And you've got Wi-Fi.
Well, I literally. Yeah, it dropped as we started, and the router is 2 floors down, so I'm a bit out of breath now.
That's good. You'll get your steps in for the day. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about is where to find these jobs. And there are 5, I would say 5 specific channels that you can use to find your jobs. And I won't go into great detail because a lot of it is common sense and a lot of it you'll know already. But just to be active, that if you are looking for a job, don't rely on just one channel. You can rely on multiple channels. So the first one is the obvious one, is direct employers. This is the most obvious one because where you would approach the employer direct, doing this through their website or their online presence, or you can do this through an employee referral scheme. So that would be the obvious choice. So you're thinking about, where do I want to work? I'd like to work for XYZ. They're a great company. I love eating there. I love drinking there. Go to their website, see what job opportunities they've got and apply for a job. That's the most direct and the one where people always go to first. The next one would be online. Now, online, this covers multiple platforms, but the main 2 are job boards and Google. So when you're searching for a job online, you need to just keep it simple. All you need to do is put in your job title you're looking for and also the location. And it's the location that you want to work in, not where you necessarily live. And when you talk about the job title, when you put the job title in, you've got to think about, if you want to be a bar staff, you put in job for bar staff in your location. And for this is for employers mainly, if we've got any employers listening in. If you advertise a role, please try and advertise a role and think about what candidates are looking for. So if you call your bar staff super bar staff, they're not going to look for super bar staff, they're just going to look for bar staff. So they may not be able to find your job. So, but when as a candidate you're looking for a job, just keep it simple, put the job title you're looking for and the location. If you're wanting to work in a specific sector, I would say go to a bespoke job board as opposed to a generalist. So a generalist job board is the likes of Reed, and they will have loads of jobs, but from different areas and different sectors. For example, if you're looking for a job within hospitality, it's best to go to a bespoke hospitality job board. When using any job board, if the role you're looking for is not advertised, then simply register and set up a job alert. Now, the great thing about this, all job boards offer this, is you set up a job alert. As soon as a job comes available, the job board contacts you and they're doing all the hard work for you. So you must do that. So if you register, whether it's with one job board or 20 job boards, set up a job alert and you'll automatically be doing the work for you. So that's a great way to have somebody doing some work for you. And then you've got the social side. The social side, for me, is a little bit loose in a degree, but certainly I would say your networks are through Facebook and LinkedIn, and it's company Facebooks and LinkedIn. So not all companies have Facebooks, but the majority do have LinkedIn presence. So employers and agencies use these tools to advertise their roles, but more importantly, it's a great option for you to follow these companies. So when you are successful and you do get an interview, you will know a lot about that company. You can refer to things that you've seen on Facebook or LinkedIn. Networking. So networking is another channel, and the networking is simply with your friends and family. It goes back to the old-fashioned word of mouth. This often is forgotten, but ask your friends, ask your family, ask them if they know someone that works at a particular company, and if they do, if they can introduce you. Companies are really keen on getting friends and families involved, and it's great for the friends and family because they get a referral, and it's good for you because then you'll get an opportunity in the company you want to work for. I will address recruitment consultancies. Recruitment consultancies are great. With a recruitment consultant, it's always a great channel because they will keep you posted on any new positions. Plus, they will be working with multiple companies. So the great thing about multiple companies is that you'll have a choice, a greater choice of where you want to work. And they will, any good consultancy will make you think about your job aspirations. They will talk about your career development, and they will put you in a company that's suitable for you. So they're the 5 sort of key areas I would say that you could find a job. And most of yours probably nodding and saying, yeah, I know that, Dawn. But if there's one thing you can take away, use all those multiple channels. Don't think I'm just going to go to direct to the employer, or I'm just going to use a recruitment consultancy. It's hard work finding a job, but it's hard work finding the perfect job. Once you find it, you'll be happy. Nick now will be talking through, once you found that perfect job, what you need to do.
Fantastic. So cover letter. I love a good cover letter. And this is where you're giving your introduction of yourself before the employer or employer search has even looked at your CV. This is the real opportunity, and hopefully by that point you've answered the question as to why you're applying to a given company and to a given position. I actually threw out to the Appetite team earlier, chuck me an example of a client that's great, and I'm going to use a couple of these examples because if you're making a cover letter, it's the understanding as to what a company does, and then showing that understanding and the reason as to why you're interested in them as a business. So very quickly, David's come back to me with the cheese bar. Thanks, David. So Matthew started trading and basically really appreciates loyal employees with salary promotion, even just looking after their rota to suit their lives, which is fantastic. Daniel's come back in regards to Corbin & King, great company, and the best internal training he's ever seen. They genuinely want to progress every team member, and they've got great succession planning in that business as well. Kay's come up with Flatiron, talking about great people focus, great internal training and development programs, and they expect the understanding of the financials, but they don't focus on that. It's all about people and customers. Kerry's come up with Rose's, great company, great growing company, and they've got a great share option for all employees. So everyone feels really big part of it and contribution to the business. And Gemma, in regards to Grosvenor, a great business there with Jason Shah, and they've really immersed themselves into the community. They did it before they even opened with the yurt, and are doing it now with all the initiatives in community support. So the reason I bring those up as an example, and there are loads more, but if you are you're going to you understand what the company does and you've done your research, then so if you're applying to Nando's, for example, in your cover letter, do talk about, I'd urge you to talk about the understanding that they're people first, then customers, and then the output is the money. But it's in that order. It's the people first side. So if you're applying to Nando's, in the cover letter, tell Nando's that you love that. If it's regards to Brewhouse and Kitchen, for example, say in the cover letter, I love your values of guest first, fun, integrity, and people. Do say these things. There are loads of examples, but at the risk of going on too much, I'll kind of cut those down. The other thing I would say in a cover letter is don't be afraid to be yourself. If you're a bit quirky, be quirky. Don't forget yourself, but don't forget to be yourself. And saying silly things like, everyone says it's, but I'm the only one telling the truth. Joking aside, that's okay. That's good. My friends tease me because I spend hours preparing for a dinner party. There is another example which I really loved in a cover letter, because I'm ultra competitive. Or the other one I really liked was I won't say what 3 words my friends would use to describe me, because they wouldn't be appropriate. And in the right context, I think the cover letter is something that really makes you stand out as a person, and we're in a people industry at the end of the day, so that's really crucial. Just have fun with it. I'm always talking about my go-to words, which are fun and success, and joining companies that are successful. There's nothing wrong with being successful. It's how you do it and how you treat people, and being yourself and fitting into that environment. So this is probably a good time to pass over to yourself, Marco, in regards to the importance of culture fit and what to think about when finding a job that's perfect for you. So if you're still there, mate, over to you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
Can, and you look very laid back, by the way, very chilled.
I'm sitting in a very comfortable chair. Thanks. So look, I mean, it's the thing, as Nick said, it's research is obviously crucial in order to understand whether you would be a good culture fit for a company. And the good news is that at this moment in time, a lot of employers are actually showcasing what they do. So it's a really brilliant opportunity for job seekers right now to get to understand how companies really tick and what their culture is really like, because employers are really exposed, some in a fantastically good way, and others not so much. You know, some very deliberately showcase themselves as an employer of choice, for what's a better word, and others are in the press for negative reasons. So I think there's a real opportunity now as a candidate to pay close attention to how employers are behaving right now, how they're looking after their staff. Do they keep engaging with them? Are they still developing them whilst their shops or restaurants are shut? It's really important for you to have a really good look at that. So but the approaches that you see are quite different, and that will tell you something. So you have, on the one hand, you have a Leon, for example. They've been in the press lots of times for all the right reasons. They're doing brilliant things with their Feed NHS campaign, which is gained a lot of traction. Lots of companies have joined that campaign. It's fantastic. And so if you want to work for a company that sees the world through the same eyes as you, i.e. wanting to do good, then this is something to look out for. I know this from personal experience. When I was at Leon, we had a lot of people wanting to join us, particularly because, for example, all of the restaurants are powered by renewable energy. Now, lots of people don't know that, but as a candidate, if this is important to you, then it really helps if you join a company that sees the world through the same eyes as you. But there are others as well. So one I'd like to count is Honest Burgers, for example. They're even right now sharing on LinkedIn, I've seen their weekly schedules of how they keep their team engaged. And I think that's one of their USPs as an employer, really, because they almost continue to operate from a team engagement point of view as though they would be physically with their people. They have virtual pub sessions, they have fitness sessions, they have HIIT training sessions, etc. And they're quite open about it. So they keep their teams engaged very much in the same way that they would normally do, which I think is absolutely fantastic. But so all this research helps. However, if you do get a job interview, and this is one thing that I would say as a hiring manager normally, interview the interviewer. There's nothing more frustrating than a candidate who thinks they either know everything about you already or don't have any questions. In my view, that it demonstrates a lack of care. Whether it's a trial where you have the opportunity, where you think the employer is trialing you, think about it this way. You need to trial the employer as well. Can you see yourself there? And exactly the same goes for an interview, even though that's probably a little bit more of a formal situation. But if the interviewer doesn't break the ice, please do break the ice and interview the interviewer as well. Get as much out of them as you possibly can to see what working there is really like. Because after all, you wouldn't even buy a television without doing your research first. You wouldn't buy a car without test driving it first. So this is really important, and you have to bear in mind the employer does exactly the same thing. Employers these days spend an awful long time to put some science behind who is the best culture fit for them. So they look at their best people, at their high flyers, at the people who are thriving, who are going from strength to strength, being promoted, and who are the best culture fit for them. And they're looking what makes these great people, and then they work backwards from there. So if you do get a rejection and you're not successful, think about it this way: the employer probably has a reason why they would have rejected you, and it tends to be a good one. So it may actually be a blessing in disguise, even though you wanted to really work for them. If the employer thinks the fit is not quite right, it's very much like in life. You don't want to love, you want to be loved back as well. And that's exactly the same with an employer. You don't just want to love the employer, you need them to love you back. And I think that's really important to understand, that it's in their best interest as well to hire the people who are the best culture fit for them, because staff turnover is very, very costly to an employer. They want people to stay. They want people to have a very happy and long career with people. So think about it from the employer's point of view as well. Don't be too disheartened if it didn't work out, because there's normally a very good reason for it.
Thanks, Marco. That was brilliant, actually. There's a couple of things I didn't know about Leon. I had no idea about they have renewable energy. So that's something I learned today. And also, you're absolutely right. Nick and I cover, not next week, but the week after, about when you're at the interview. And I totally agree about interviewing the interviewer. and you're right, you wouldn't go out and buy a television without doing the research around it, and it actually makes you more engaging. But one thing you did cover, which I just want to stress, is if people are applying for jobs and you've done your research, you've applied for the job, whichever channel you use, and also you've got your cover letter and you've done all this work, and you think, right, I've got this, I love that company, they're going to interview me. If they turn around and say you're not suitable, it may be a standard response you get. You're absolutely in your right to go back to them and say, could you let me know why? Can you give me some great feedback so I don't make this mistake next time? And they actually appreciate that conversation, because if you're going back to them saying, let me know what why I wasn't successful, they might think, well, hold on a minute, this person's okay. Dawn's really, she's really interested. She wants to work for us. So ask that question. And I don't know any recruiters that won't give you that feedback. And it could be a case of somebody misinterpreted your email, your CV, someone misinterpreted your cover letter, or even about your location. One thing that I would say is when you apply for a job, if you live in, say, Hertfordshire and you want to apply for a job in Liverpool, somebody might reject you due to your location if it says Hertfordshire on your CV. However, they don't know that you've got a brother and sister in Liverpool and you're going to go up there and you're going to live with them. So you need to explain yourself. Never take for granted that people know what you've written down and then what you're saying is that, but that's what you want to do. So it's always good to follow up if you do get a reject or someone says you're not suitable this time. Nick, have you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly with both of you. I like the example of keeping an eye, Marco, of what businesses are doing, especially at the moment, and the engagement of Honest Burger. That doesn't surprise me at all, knowing what Phil and Tom do over there, and other great things that companies are doing. If they genuinely care, they'll be showing it right now. And in terms of talking relevancy of timing, and thinking about, well, actually, if your employers have been great at the moment, then do you know what? Just be really loyal to them. And because believe me, they've been going through it as much as you have, and you probably realise that. So yeah, I think it's being selective with the opportunities, because there's a lot of businesses out there. There's a lot of great businesses, and there's a couple that maybe aren't quite so strong and in need of a bit of development. So yeah, it's really interesting times, let's face it, at the moment, and what the future holds is a separate debate. Yeah, while you're getting ready and you've got your CV and you're thinking in the right way in regards to the next opportunity, my sort of go to in this thought process is to be honest with yourself and to be true to yourself, because if it doesn't feel like work, then you're probably doing a great job, and you're probably working with great people in a company that genuinely cares about you. So I mean, in terms of don'ts, Marco, if I throw this over to you, what would in terms of, so I talked about a cover letter, have you seen any clangers or things that have turned you off instantly?
Do you know what, with cover letters, I mean, you mentioned it, make it personal. Believe it or not, that is such a simple piece of advice. A lot of people tend to copy and paste with cover letters and even get the names of the company wrong. And I know that a lot of people tend to apply for many jobs at a time rather than just one or two. So just be really, really careful how you address the person. I think it's one top tip is in a cover letter, if you know who the interviewer is, sometimes you see that in a job posting, who's posted the job, address them directly if you write a cover letter. And make sure that you don't copy and paste from the previous cover letter that you've done and get the name of the company wrong or the name of the person you're addressing. And also, it's one thing showcasing your achievements, it's another thing to brag. So there's a fine line between look at me, I'm the best person you can hire, or look at me, I'm the king of the world. So there's a fine line between the two, but I totally agree with you in terms of your personality. You have an opportunity there. So a CV, as well as a cover letter, is ink on paper at the end of the day. And if you don't make it stand out and reflect your personality, you're 1 in a million from an employer's point of view, from an interviewer's point of view. So how do you get selected there? So if you keep it to the bare standard, chances are you're not going to stand out. So that's what I'd add to that.
Yeah, I agree. It's that that don't forget yourself, but don't forget to be yourself.
Yeah.
Is quite important. What are your thoughts, Don?
Thanks, Nick. Yeah, I was actually going to reiterate what Marco said. The amount of times from a recruitment consultancy point of view that we get an email that's obviously just a copy and paste email, and it's not addressed to the right person. And it's easy to copy and paste. I've done it before where I've copied and pasted something and I've put the last person's name in. You've got to check this because people will find that really impersonal. But no, I mean, I just want to say, I'm going to start wrapping up now. I just want to say, Marco, thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate all your thoughts on this. Nick, again, thank you for your time. And I hope you enjoyed the session. We will be covering, and we will see you next week. We'll let you know what time we're around next week. And next week, we're going to be talking about culture again and preparing for the interview, and also dress code. So it's going to be all those three things that you've got a great CV, you applied for the job, you've got an interview, what do you do now? So we're going to be running through that. Any questions or help that myself, Marco or Nick can give you afterwards, please drop a question on the Facebook line or contact us and we'll be happy to help you. And also the Hospo Live team happy to help you. So thank you very much and we will see you next week.
Bang on, look.